You this morning. It was so much fun. He asked me really great questions. I love doing interviews. If you want to interview me, hit me up because I love doing interviews. So I just did an interview. But either way, I wanted to talk about vocal health and a quick tip to help preserve your voice. So a lot of singers, find themselves in ruts, like, oh my God, I gotta sing tomorrow and I lost my voice, or whatever the case is, whether they have to sing in the weekend or whatever. And I see a lot of professional voice users looking for quick tips on how to preserve their voice. And anyone that's worked with me knows that I'm kind of like the long route person. I'm not the quick tip person. So I'm going to be totally honest with you. The way you preserve your voice is by not jacking it up in the first place, okay? And what do I mean? So of course we can, there's that drink you guys get from Starbucks, whatever that thing is. You guys want to drink hot tea, and somebody's going to say peppermint, someone else is going to say ginger, someone's probably going to say apple cider vinegar. um there's all kinds of, and all of those things are good for pharyngeal, like to soothe your throat if there's anything irritating your throat. But the real sustainable way that we preserve our voice is by learning how to use it properly in the first place. A lot of our voice loss has more to do with our misuse of our voice versus the environment or sickness. Um, Now, there are certain things that are absolutely legitimate, right? There are people who use their voice absolutely perfectly well. Um, but they have really severe allergies, for example. And when you do have severe allergies, it can impact the way you sing, especially depending on the particular genre. Hi, Otar. Especially depending on the genre. It really can affect your voice. And I'm not saying that sickness can't affect your voice, but I have experienced and seen in other singers where you can overcome even the flu because of great technique. And I'm not saying this happens in all cases, but in a lot of cases, all that a physical sickness is doing is exacerbating an issue that's already there. Okay. So let's deal with the actual core issues. When you sing, are you hyperfunctional? Are you hypofunctional? Those are the things we have to think about. When you talk, are you talking too heavy on your chords? Are you using too much breath pressure? Are you using not enough breath pressure? Do you generally talk too loud? Are you squeezing your chords together too harshly? When you sing, do you tend to just want to sing everything just too high? Does everything just sound struggly because it's high because you think you're expected to sing that high? Or is it low because you've told yourself that you're a low singer? These are probably the bigger issues at hand. And when we don't address these issues, these are the issues in the long run that are going to lead to voice problems and your voice being diminished and your voice losing its luster. We all know so many singers who in their 20s sounded one way, and by their mid 30s, they sounded entirely different. And that's not to say that hormonal changes don't play a role in how we sing. But again, those same singers in their 20s, I heard, sounded like, why is she singing so high? Why is she singing so loud? And then 15 years later, the world hears what I heard coming 10, 15 years earlier, which is she is misusing her voice and it's not sustainable. So we have to find sustainable ways to use our voice. Whenever you speak, you have to ask yourself, if you're really trying to be a professional voice user, use a voice for your whole life, you have to ask yourself these really great questions. Do I have to talk this loud? Do I have to talk this much? You know, um, do I have to talk on this low pitch? Do I have to talk on this high pitch? How we identify our speaking voice has a huge impact on our voice in general. Remember, it's the same two vocal cords. So if you're a professional voice user, let's say I have friends who they're just hit with a double whammy. They are singers and speakers, like singers and teachers. So if you're a classroom teacher and you haven't learned how to use your voice, your singing voice 100% of the time is going to be impacted. And a lot of times, how we identify ourselves vocally in speech or in singing is the biggest issue. It's usually something psychological. So, for example, my family tends to talk really low and really hard like this. Hey man, yeah, man, what's going on? Oh, that's good, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really harsh to talk like that all the time. That was such a bad English accent. I'm sorry, I'm a few years out. But the point is, because they have that whenever I've noticed that whenever I speak to my mother, I start imitating the way she speaks, and within 10 minutes, my voice is exhausted. So, environment plays a huge role in how we identify what our voice is supposed to sound like. And we have to start making decisions as singers that maybe I need to sound like something else in order to have my voice 10, 15 years from now. So, I had to start talking like this. And then my family would be like, "You sound like grandma," because my grandmother has a very sing-songy voice. But this way of speaking actually helps to preserve my voice, right? And at first you might feel like you're being phony to talk this high. But the point is, again, it's all psychological. We have to think, okay, it might sound phony now, but if I keep doing it for the next 2 weeks, it'll just feel like me. So we have to start thinking, thank you for saying that, because growing up, people would ask me why I talk like a girl, but I was raised around all women. Right. We just imitate the sounds that we hear, right? We're just empathetic and we imitate the sounds that we hear. And sometimes we have to kind of distance ourselves um, from that and really figure out what works for our voice. Some of your favorite singers are walking around with vocal hemorrhages, which means they're having blood vessels within they're misusing their voice to the point that blood vessels are bursting and there is bleeding and there's bruising. They're walking around with calluses, vocal nodules, which is calluses on their voice from too much pressure on the cords. These are your favorite singers. These are the ones y'all love telling them, being all in the comment section, boosting them up. These people are going to ENTs and vocal therapists, and they're not listening because they've built an image around this sound that does not work for them. I'm going to say it again. Your favorite singers are going to the ENT and going to vocal therapists. Y'all are boosting them up while their voices are getting shot to hell. And now they built a brand based on a sound they cannot sustain. And now they feel stuck because they feel like the sound that is more friendly for their voice doesn't fit their brand and what they're selling and who they've attracted. And so singers, we got to take responsibility for our bodies and for our voice and for our vocal health. We have to start defining ourselves by what actually works for us physically. I use this analogy all the time. The minute a flute tries to be a trumpet will be the beginning of the end for that flute. It was not built to sustain that kind of sound, to create or sustain the sound of a trumpet. Same thing if a clarinet decides it wants to be an oboe tomorrow. It wasn't built for that. So to me, that's the biggest issue of vocal health. Okay? Stop getting these medicine balls and peppermint teas and throat coats. You guys, you're missing the elephant in the room is your vocal technique, the way you are singing, the way you identify your voice. That is the actual issue that needs to be dealt with in order for you to have a healthy working voice. Okay? Just wanted to bring that to you. Somebody saying, my voice teacher, who has a master's and bachelor's in voice performance, made me change my voice from speaking in a gray place to a healthier blue, if you will. Okay. That's an interesting. Why did you use colors? Now, to my Instagram family, you guys know that my vision is not 2020. Therefore, I cannot see what you're saying. I can take you off and then it'll be a weird angle in order for me to see what you're saying. Maybe I can address a few things. I'm going to take this off. Let's see. Demi was abusing drugs, but she sounds recovered these days. Her voice is much more. That's awesome. Somebody said Mariah Carey. No, it's not external bleeding. Your voice is inside your body, so you can't even feel the bleeding. That's the thing. There's no pain, but you'll hear the difference. Your voice will sound different, and then you'll go to the ENT, and they're like, "Well, yeah, there's a bruise there because it's been bleeding." You're not sure if you know if you can sing. I don't even know how to identify with that. Listen to yourself, record it. Would you buy it? Would you buy you? Do you like your sound? Demi is California sober. Thank you, Grandma Key. I don't understand how people say they don't know they can sing. Thank you, Travanti. Shouldn't you be in class? Hi, Chris. Okay, guys, I am going to go. I have a consultation right now. So you guys have a beautiful morning. Is it still morning? It's still morning. Record yourself, you listen to it. Then you decide if you want to send it to me. Okay? That's my advice for you. You have a beautiful afternoon. Funny people. Funny people. Bye.